This clip is from a much longer video linked down in the description. If you like this kind of content, check it out. We discuss more of the absolutely insane implications of the atheistic worldview. Okay, now let's move on. Try to explain free will or explain your mind or explain your thoughts without appealing to something immaterial like a soul. Let's take free will first. This one's pretty fun. Sam Harris was on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about this, and it's a YouTube video. You can go look it up right now, called Taking the Red Pill on Free Will. And in this video, he discusses that because we are only material, what we are is just our brains. We are just the byproducts of electrons flowing through our gray matter. That this means that free will is an illusion because our beliefs, our thoughts, our actions, they are causally determined based on the laws of physics, chemistry, biology. It's the things that are happening here that are causing all of this. My words that I'm speaking through this microphone to you are causally determined by the scientific processes going on inside my skull. I am not in charge of my brain is in charge of me. Now he realizes and recognizes and explains that what this means is that we are now we're not responsible for our own actions. I'm not responsible for my actions, my brain is. And because of that, he uses, and I'm going to use his exact analogies, he says we should view terrorism and a hurricane with the same sort of emotional distance, that we're not angry at the hurricane when it blows through. And so when Al-Qaeda bombs us, which is his exact example, we should feel pretty much the same way. Now, if we could kill the hurricane to keep ourselves safe, that's fine. We would. And so it's fine to kill Al-Qaeda or to fight terrorism or a bad guy who's coming to, destroy your house or whatever. But it's not because you shouldn't feel angry at them because this agent has come to do you harm. No, that's just a brain doing what that brain does, caused by culture and chemistry. Similarly, he talks about retributive justice and this idea that when somebody, say, is a mass murderer or is somebody is a serial killer, they didn't do those things because they were sadistic or evil. Of course not. Rather, what do they do it for? Well, it's because their brain is causing them, it's fizzing in such a way that it's causing them to go do these things. And he says, thinking of punishing them for their crimes is the same as punishing an animal for its crimes. And he brings up this really strange case of an elephant who is literally hung for trampling its owner. The problem in all of these four examples is a misattribution of agency. Here's the point. You are not an agent. You don't make decisions. You picked green jello instead of red jello, not because you could, but because your brain made you. Likewise, Hitler in The Final Solution were not literally his evil inclination and racism being born out. No, it was just brain chemistry and culture, again, causing him to do these things. Now, why should we think he's wrong? I'm going to go back to somebody who I think is constantly misrepresented, who is Descartes. He said, I think, therefore I am. And you have to understand what he was talking about whenever he said that. Descartes was asking himself, can I be literally skeptical of everything? Can I be skeptical that the world exists? Of course. Maybe some sort of evil genie has bewitched my mind to think that this whole world exists, but it doesn't really. Then he went even further. Can I doubt that I exist? Which is exactly what Sam Harris is proposing, that you don't actually exist. He says in this analogy that, could the genie convince me that I exist when I don't? And he realizes what is an actually self-evident belief, that in that moment, he would have to be convincing a thing that is able to be convinced, that's able to think, and therefore, I would still exist. I'm a thing that exists, that thinks. That's me. That's what I am. And so you can convince me that the whole world is really a video game, or that I'm just a brain in a vat being stimulated by a scientist. But what you cannot convince me of, because it's self-evidently false, is that I don't exist. I think. Therefore, I am. Beyond that, I have the experience of actually making choices. I have chosen things, you have chosen things. And so when somebody comes along and says, you don't have free will, and you can say, yeah, I do, because I just used it to not smack you in the face, that is an immediate evidential response to this idea. Further, we actually have scientific data to back this up. Now, we wouldn't need scientific data because we have our experience, and experience is the primary way you know 90% of what you know. You know that your phone exists because you're looking right at it. You know I exist because you're looking at a picture of me. It's your visual and your auditory senses that are telling you that this is real. Now, If that experience can tell you that the external world is real, then your experience of yourself and your experience of choice is enough. But let's go with the hard data too. There have been study after study after study in the arena of cognitive behavioral therapy, which shows that your intentions, your choices will literally rewrite your neural pathways. That you have the ability through gratitude and a handful of other practices, even to the degree of decreasing OCD symptoms, you can change and reroute these pathways, which would mean that you, though you're influenced by your brain, are in some sense distinct from it. Now, what would it mean that you are distinct from the part of your body that thinks? Well, it would mean that your mind is not entirely identical with your brain. So again, naturalism has some intellectual costs. Let's refresh them. If you believe in naturalism or materialism, which they're slightly distinct, but for right now, they're close enough to just lump together. If you accept this, then you have no free will, which would imply that the physical forces that cause, say, a hurricane are similar, if not identical, to what cause murder, and you should feel emotionally the same way about either one of them. You have to accept that your mind doesn't actually exist, that you don't actually exist, you're not an agent. You have to accept that your thoughts aren't about anything, they're not true, and they have no meaning. Or, and hear me out here, you can realize that those are the absurd conclusions of materialism and reject them, and therefore reject materialism, and accept that reality possesses immaterial objects. Now, again, that would leave God, I think, as the only possible candidate, but let's just make sure we know that he's a really good candidate given what we know. We are immaterial minds that have we have causal powers over the physical world. Therefore, it's not at all absurd to assume that there is another, larger, more fantastic, maybe even necessary immaterial mind that has causal power over the physical universe. We're done. Unsafe Media. We're all listener supported. Linktree in the description if you want to support. My name is Ryan Martin, reminding you, until next time, trust God and keep your powder dry.